government and society in Ukraine are completely separated to camps, and government, they do not listen to society do not believe in government. So due to religion, in the way of governmental decisions, they don't play any particular role, but informing society minds and can be pretty powerful. As long as Ukraine tries to be an exemplary EU country, religion isn't the decision maker. Our people do believe in God, but I cannot name our society super traditional or conservative simply because this faith, in most cases, is empty headed. They believe in what's profitable for them, like gays and lesbians are the sinners, but those who beat them up are not. They may even never touch the Bible in their lives. Religion is mostly used as an argument that you cannot argue with because otherwise you're the sinner. And it reminds me about trans ideology. But this happens only between people and organizations, and those it can be religious organizations like members of the church, but it can be organizations like Nazi organizations who believe, they claim to radically kind of believe in God, and also they believe that Ukrainians is the only nation that should exist in Ukraine and all this stuff. So, but I can say that government doesn't really do something about them, but again, they pretend that they just do not exist. So this правый sector, they are free to do what they're doing, beating up gays and lesbians, beating up Romani people, burning their camps, and everything else.
Lithuania don't have the governmental religion, but the Christianity is the one that is mostly, how to say it, mostly practiced here. Even though, well, from my opinion, I would say that most of the people are thinking that they are Christians, but they are not acting on it at all. So this is probably a very common thing happening around Europe anyway. And interestingly, of course, every time there is some kind of an issue where the politicians need to push something that is better for their own good, they of course going to use the Christianity itself and try to use these silly arguments and in any kind of issue, for example, like abortion and so on. So yeah, as I said in the beginning, we are always, as Lithuanian women, we are always very struggling. Every time there is a new government that is coming in, there is always a question of the abortion right that we have right now available. So we definitely feel you in Poland, and we always like checking out the situation there, because here in Lithuania it's still, as I said, available, but anytime we will be the one that need the support and solidarity here. So yeah, and the religion itself, I wanted to share one story because it happened just recently. So there is one lesbian who is openly gay, and she was like openly lesbian for several years, and she was working in a church as a player of the, I don't know how does it call, but probably she plays the and sings in a choir. So she was openly lesbian there for a decade or something. Everyone knew there that she is lesbian. And this election time, she went to the party that is openly supporting LGBT community, and she was trying to get elected in her region. And because of that, of course, the church itself received a lot of harassment, like online and so on. So just a few days ago, there was a story that she was fired from the church because the priest was not able to, like, basically the priest chose to fire her instead of just like dealing with the harassment that is coming through from the community and so on. So that was a very sad story. And at the same day, the Pope Francis story break out that he is supporting the LGBT people and their right for the civil union. And so that was like a different background here in Lithuania, where the lesbian was fired because of who she is, basically. So that's the story.
Yeah, so religion plays a very important role here. According to the last census, 60% of our inhabitants are Roman Catholic. In fact, the church is so powerful that sometimes the priests tell the parishioners who they should vote for in the general elections. The Catholic Church also owns 1/3 of the country, of the land of Slovakia. 1/3 is quite a lot. And also they own 10,000 buildings. They are also capable of bringing huge crowds, like 100,000 people, to marches that protest for the traditional family, so against gays and lesbians, and for the rights of the child to life, so against abortion. And we also have some efforts to ban abortion. We have those like every year. I think it's become a tradition, I think, already. So
I think we have a bit more complicated situation because of the post-conflict situation that we had in our in this region, which used to be Yugoslavia, and now there are many different countries. And the religion played a great role in the rise of nationalism, and it still holds that position to this very day. Of course, they always promote the family values. They are strictly against LGBT, lesbians. I have to say that transsexuals have never been something they mention. Maybe it's not something they are still aware of, or maybe it's not mentioned on purpose. Abortion is mentioned, but it hasn't been really a focus. It's not as bad as maybe in Catholic countries. Even the Catholic countries in our region, like Croatia, for example. But they do have this great role. And now she reminds me of, we also had a pool. It was a public pool where young people from the age from 18 to 30 years were asked who they trust the most, and the majority answered it is equivalent of Pope in Orthodox Church, which was shocking. Like, not the president, not, I don't know, any celebrity, but actually the Pope. They trust him the most. But I don't think that this actually reflects their thinking in real life. I mean, abortion is quite often in Serbia, and actually we even had this very negative trends of aborting baby girls in our regions because they are girls, and of course Balkan men want male child to continue their family. So this is more, let's say, to strengthen the national identity rather than actually affect, and of course, to strengthen the patriarchy and the gender roles within the family and society.
Christianity in Hungary is also the most common religion, although people who actually are members of churches are fewer and fewer, according to the census. But Christianity plays quite an important role in the conservative government's discourse. It is a reference point when it comes to discussing issues, ethical issues, and when it comes to children's education, for example. So that belief system is quite central, so much that in October there was an interview with the Prime Minister, actually not an interview, but he gave a speech, and there is a longer story there, but a children's book, a fairy tale book, was published by a lesbian association in Hungary, and it included stories, fairy tales concerning sexual orientation and gender identity. It was quite purposefully put there, but also other kind of minority issues and important social discrimination issues were addressed by these fairy tales, but it made a very big wave, or big waves, in the society. So the Prime Minister also said that the duty is to raise children to become homo Christianus, so Christian people, which is interesting because it is not very much. I mean, it's quite a secular state in general, but it has a very strong connection with certain churches, certain historic, so-called historic churches, which they really heavily subsidize with money, and who in turn really support them politically. So, and the issue of, I mean, yeah, this fighting for children's gender identity has become very central recently. But before that, the Istanbul Convention was featuring in priests' talks, and around the last election, it was also a kind of decisive issue. So they also have a very strong stance on that.
The right-wing government, they were just trying to push step by step harder in terms of proclaiming like a new fascism. This is what we call it, because they are standing, first of all, during the first currency of their government, they were standing against the refugees, and they were trying to make them like the common enemy. However, as far as you understand, in the Syrian crisis, there was no many refugees in Poland actually, so this strategy failed. So they were trying to find the other kind of common enemy. So they did it, and LGBT plus. This is like the new enemy in Poland. They are trying to create like the new situation of tension, and what is happening. The right wing is actually strictly against those people, and they we are experiencing, and the LGBT plus community is experiencing actual harassment and even violent attacks. And what we are doing as a left wing and anarchists, we are trying to protect them. We are trying to turn this kind of communication like back, but it looks like this is not the time for this, because what is government doing? They are also cooperating with the church, and the church will be like the next thing. I will just say two sentences about the church in Poland, and I would like to say it out loud, and I would like to everyone to understand the situation in Poland, because probably a lot of you has completely different image of Poland. You are treating us like, you know, like strictly Catholic country that we are not. We are not the Catholic country. So basically, coming back to the LGBT situation, right now they are like the biggest enemy. The church is trying to show them as responsible, as people responsible for, as they say, this is their words, people responsible for destroying Polish families. Yes, like, you know, like two men having sex or, you know, being in love are able to destroy your family. This is what, like, you know, Polish government is trying to tell you. Yeah. you can listen to this. And the most horrible thing is that a lot of people is, believing in that. They are believing in that because, I don't know, because of the fear, because of this kind of internal feeling of, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. I think that the one thing that can bring people common is having common enemy, and this is what the government is trying to use in terms of building their own protagonists. So basically, the church in Poland is only a facade, because people in Poland, they are proclaiming that they are Catholics, but they are not in church every day. They are not following, those terms and conditions of Roman Catholic Church, and this is only the facade. If it would be like, listen, guys, you have to do this, or just quit, they would quit. But the society is bringing so much pressure on, on what people will say, like keeping up appearances. And this is only why the Catholic Church has any kind of power in Poland, and they are strictly connected with the government. They are actually ruling. They are telling the government what to do. And this is what is happening in Poland. This is like, government and church and police and like holy saints. This is how it looks like in Poland. But the society is beside it. Like, we are beside it. We are not Catholics. We are not.